Jamie Richards, we've got the first Griffin race coming up on Sunday, only a small field, but you certainly a man I was wishing to talk to, because you've got a horse in here by the name of the All Out, who has looked very good in his trials. What more can you tell us about him?
He's a horse we bought at Karaka last year. Nice type. Brutal sort of hadn't done too much at that stage, but he's starting to kick up now, and he was out of a good tough Savabeel mare. But yeah, he's a nice horse. He went through the system at home. He trialled up well in August. And then he came up, and he's been here a little while, and he's had a bit of time, and he's had a few trials, and things seem to be going well.
I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, obviously, naturally, with some of these 2-year-olds, Griffin horses, for example, I mean, they don't necessarily have the opportunity or the time, perhaps, to get those trials in, but you've given this fellow 5 here.
Yeah, the plan when we bought the horse was to try and identify a horse that we thought could get up and get going early for the owner. And yeah, everything's gone pretty smoothly, but yeah, we had a clear plan to bring him up nice and early and get him ready for these early Griffin races.
All those early track watchers here would have certainly not missed his 57.09 trial recently down the straight. That was the quickest time of the morning for that distance, so he's certainly done it all right on the trials track, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's continued to improve, and you know, he had the rail to follow and a few things in his favour that morning, but it was still a nice trial, and hopefully he can take his trial form to race day.
You mentioned Brutal. Super Strong Kid is another horse up here by Brutal, who's won recently. So it might just be a stallion or a breed that might start to get in vogue. These Brutals, might they?
Yeah, well, he's he's a very good racehorse himself. He won the Doncaster as a 3-year-old, which is very hard to do. And Brutal's by O'Reilly, as is Grunt, and both of those sires are starting to do okay up here after O'Reilly, was a good sire here himself. So fingers crossed, but he's a nice horse, and we're expecting him to run well.
I think you introduced LaForza in this race last year. I know he was beaten, but he's obviously gone on to do good things. So it's just, obviously, as you mentioned earlier on in the interview, it's a race and a horse that you've obviously targeted for a race like this. Yeah,
so LaForza is a little bit different because he's probably just lacks a little bit of strength still, but he is going well, whereas this horse is a big, powerful, good-looking horse. He's looks like a 3-year-old rather than a 2-year-old, so he's probably a little bit more forward, and hopefully we can crack on with him a bit. Obviously, these Griffin races, there's not a lot of them, but hopefully he can run well on them, and then we'll see what happens towards the end of the season.
Andrea Atzeni, you've got some very nice rides coming up on Sunday, and one of them is a real fan favourite in the shape of Beauty Destiny. Now, he's coming to Sha-Tin this time around, but he's been a good friend to you so far.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's obviously won 5 on him, and he probably could have been 6. It's just mad to think that when I first got on him, he was rated 51. Now I think he's rated 95. So he's done well.
He certainly has done very. He's got up to 44 pounds this season. I must ask you, obviously coming to a totally different track. I went back, as I'm guessing you may have done, looked at his Sha-Tin runs prior. The day he ran third here on paper, you'd think it probably looks well, but he probably didn't want to win that day, in fairness to him. But he's turned a corner since then. What about him now coming to Sha-Tin then?
Yeah, obviously, I think his first 2 runs were in Sha-Tin, and it's obviously been a little while ago. I'm just hoping he's this switched off tactics that made a difference. I'm hoping he's not just a track, and hopefully we can sort of do the same thing. But also turn the corner. He's loving racing, and he's obviously keeps the handicap keeps putting him up, so he needs to keep improving. But he's done that so far, so you can't take anything away from him, and hopefully he can repeat the form here at the same this track.
You're as good a man as any to ask, of course, being a jockey and riding here now and really sort of establishing yourself. Do we, perhaps maybe in the media more so, read a bit too much into sort of the switching of tracks here? Or can a horse be versatile in Hong Kong without too much sort of element of track bias per se?
Yeah, obviously it depends, but a lot of horses do seem to suit Happy Valley more than Sha-Tin, and for some reasons, obviously the 2 completely different tracks. One shorter, tighter, a bit more speed. Where the track like Sha-Tin is a bit more selective, so you need horses that they're a little bit more braver, I would say, because it's a long straight, it's a long way from home. But the Sha-Tin sometimes with a short straight gives horses less time to think about it, especially horses that have their quirks. So I'm hoping the longer straight won't disadvantage Beauty Destiny on Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully those quirks have well and truly been ironed out. And just finally, on the greater horse he's taken on now, as you say, he's up to 95. He's in Class 2. He probably isn't too far removed from getting up to a higher class should he win this. So, I mean, he's meeting tougher opposition, but he's done everything right to get there.
Oh yeah, it's a competitive race again. It's a very, very tough race, actually. But like I said, he's done nothing wrong so far as an improving horse. And, last time I thought if he was going to get beat, it would have been last time, and he actually he won quite easily, won pulling away, and so he just sort of keeps surprising us. And let's hope he does that again. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins on Sunday, but let's hope he keeps improving the way he's doing it. And he's a very good horse.
He got small interference for a long way. The Sumion horse kept bumping into him, and it made him just slightly over travel, and it took his sprint away. So this time we're going to ride him quietly at the back. If it rains, it'll help him, and get him back into the RUBYLOT style, which is nice and patient, charge down the outside with a light weight. We decided not to trial against Voyage Bubble, instead run for $5 million as his last hit out for the big international race. So I don't know if he's a sure win, but I expect him to sure run well. He'll be charging home. He's freshened up very well. I gave him one gallop this week, and he looked really good. So I think he's ready to run a good race, even though it's short of his distance.
Jamie Richards, race 9 looks a competitive heat, but you've got a very competitive horse in Celestial colours. They've left him on the same mark of 77, and he ran well off that last time.
Yeah, he did run well, and the format of that race is good, with the Quinella on Wednesday night with Colourful Kings. So, he's going along well. He had a very quiet maintenance trial up at Chung Fa on Monday morning and moved along nicely. And, he's a horse that's racing well, but he's going to run under Casper's exciting young horse, and he's got a bad gate for the straight race. So he has got a few things against him, but he's a very consistent customer and continues to race well.
Yeah, you've got Hugh Bowman on, so hopefully he can certainly overcome that. And I guess we shouldn't worry too much about him coming back to Shartin. Those good runs recently have been at the Valley, but he's run very well here. Yeah,
he has. It just sort of didn't work out for him to kick off at Shartin, so we took him there, and had 3 trials leading into that off a bit of a break, and he's got good solid straight form as well, so hopefully he can front up and run well for the stable.
Andrea, Gold Master, 1 from 1 over this distance now. The further he goes, the better he's looked.
Yeah, he was very good the last day. He's a horse that we've always liked him. His trials were always good, even before he ran. So he's not surprised to see him doing what he's doing. And the stepping up to 18 really improved him. And no, although he didn't win by far, he won quite closely.
A horse of his sort of ilk, the fact he's getting over this sort of trip 1,800, maybe 2,000 times. He's got that really nice sort of turn of foot late, hasn't he? Which obviously aids him a lot in winning.
Correct, yeah. He's I've never ridden, well, probably have, but not many horses that stay the distance that switch leads as quick as he does. I remember the last day when I sort of wheel him out the last 150, he changed leads very quickly, and for a stayer it's very unlikely to do that, and he really quickened it. But he does that in the mornings. But no, he's a horse that he travels as a strong traveller, but he quickens quite nicely. It's a horse at the same time that needs luck in running, because it's a horse I've been riding sort of midfield and trying to produce him a little bit late. But the only reason why I did that too last time, because it was first time over 18, so I wasn't sure whether he will get it. Well, I thought he would get a trip, but you always have to give. It's always out in the back of the mind. So I was giving him a bit more of a chance, just in case he didn't. But he hit the line quite nicely, and he's up in grade, but with a lightweight. But it's not nothing wrong.
Lyle, Armour War Eagle is a horse for you in the last, who's been racing extremely consistently of late, and only narrowly went down last time.
Yeah, first I just think the team has done a great job, Mark, Henry and his team. He was a horse that we thought maybe wasn't too genuine to go on and win a race, but continually ran well, and they changed the bit on him and put on some cheek pieces, and the very next start he actually showed a very gutsy performance and kept his head in front, and he backed it up the next time. So he's a horse that's obviously thrived off that win, and like I said, every time he steps out he gives a good account of himself, which I'm sure he'll continue to do.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably well within your entitlement to think now. I mean, 13 goes it took, and as time goes on, obviously, we do start to think they're a bit frustrating, but he's looked good since. You gave £5 to the winner, Andrea, who takes you on again last time. You're only giving him 2 this time, so you'd be fairly confident turning the tables, wouldn't you?
Yeah, look, he's probably, I don't want to say his own worst enemy, but he's a horse you have to ride to his pattern, not necessarily according to the race. So he does need things to go his way. But last time, after him blotching the start, I actually was pretty happy with the run we had, and if we got out 20 yards earlier, he would have got up. I still thought he did at the time, so it was a great effort. And like you say, the winner going up in weight and last time having a perfect trip certainly could turn the tables on him as long as things go our way.
And just finally, gate 7, happy from there?
Yeah, like I said, he's a victim of his own circumstances, so he's always going to be given a bit of a chance. But I guess at least from 7, we're not dragging back to find cover and run him from behind. So we could sort of just lob in the midfield or behind that and present him and give him every chance to win.